بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So this is our third part in our multi-part series concerning the role of the Imam. Today, inshallah, we will talk about the second most important role that I feel of the Imam which is his civil role. The central theme of this, just like we had a central theme last time, was constantly defining boundaries. And the reason I say that is that the civil role is very uncharted for most imams. It's something that they're not particularly comfortable with. And most of the imams I've spoken to, either they take a firm stance for it or they're completely for it. The firm stance against it or they're completely for it. And they say it is a learning process and it is something that you kind of learn as you go along. So I'm going to talk about the different ways or the different civil roles that the imam has. The first of them being interfaith. Interfaith is something that is the most challenging for many individuals in terms of how to deal with it and how to come to terms with it. But if we have to remember, the primary goal of it is to maintain and to create political alliances. It's very important for us, being a minority, to have those political alliances so that in case we are attacked, that we have people other than Muslims who are able to stand up and defend us. And even for them, if anybody from outside the community is being oppressed or any non-Muslims are being oppressed, we should be on the forefront of defending them and making sure that nobody is being oppressed and nobody is being hurt. It also gives us an opportunity for dealing with other clergy. And the reason I mention that is because once an individual is in the clergy class, quote unquote, he is able to befriend those who are in the same strata. Because sometimes it becomes very difficult to befriend people who are actually in your community. There are a lot of clergy who I know do have friends outside of their community just because of that issue or because of that problem. And the reason for that is because people of your community tend to hold you to a higher standard, and they feel very uncomfortable with you around at particular functions because they don't feel they're able to be as relaxed as they want to be. And there are many times that I've been invited by community members to particular functions or social gatherings, and I'll avoid going to those social gatherings because I know that they're going to feel they won't feel as comfortable discussing certain things with each other as they would as if I were around. And there are a lot of other benefits of being with clergy in addition to friendship, is that they offer many of the same services. So whether they be Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, whatever the situation might be, there are a number of different services that they offer that are very similar or run parallel to the services that we offer. Many of them will have a Saturday or a Sunday school program. Many of them will have an after-school program. Many of them will have marriage counseling. Many of them will have youth mentorship services. Many of them will have ritual services. Many of them will have food pantries, food kitchens, hygiene pantries, they'll have helping the poor. They'll have a number of different social programs that they provide for their community that we are also providing for ours. So it's a good idea to take ideas from them, or even sometimes even collaborate with them if it's something that is reasonable, something that is respectable, something that can be done. And then we should definitely take advantage of those. Finding out how they structure their classes, what it is that they teach, what are some ways that they protect their youth from having crises in faith. I think taking some of those strategies, obviously not the lessons because we have fundamental differences in belief, but approaches and strategies are something that we definitely can benefit and take from them. Organizationally, how are they structured? How have they set up their endowment funds? I think these are huge and really beneficial ways for us to benefit from them. Understanding what pastoral care is, end-of-life services. And there are a number of things that those communities are already offering that we as Muslims are extremely behind in, and we really could benefit and take from those strategies. And I think it's very important. The biggest challenge and the biggest hurdle in these interfaith dealings is that they're overwhelmingly Christian, and obviously the country being between 70 and 80% Christian, it's that theme is going to run very deeply in all of their veins, in everything that they do. Music is a huge ritual part of their worship, and it's involved in almost everything that they do. And again, this is something that is very enigmatic to us as Muslims. Even those who allow music, it's never been in a religious setting, so to speak. It has more been for like an entertainment purposes, but you will not find music and instruments in a masjid, being played at salah time, etc. This is just not something that we do. We don't have choirs It is not something that is part of our faith tradition, and it's something that is very fundamental to theirs. So sometimes navigating that can get a bit uncomfortable because of this huge difference that we have with them. Also, defining for them how to make dua. They're usually pretty respectful of that. So that's something that definitely can be defined, making it a little bit more universal so that it encompasses the different faiths that are present. But again, it's very important to understand it is not religious reasons that we're gathering for. We're gathering predominantly and mainly for political reasons, the same reason that they are gathering with us. The second civil function that we'll talk about is da'wah. So da'wah, this can involve speaking at speaking events, participating in them, going to local fairs, going to local colleges, going to speak at malls, going to speak at parks. All of these things are good and fine. They're for the one who is interested in them. I'm not a big street da'wah guy. It's not my thing. And I think everybody should obviously cater to their niche, and everybody should be involved in what it is that they're passionate about. The only thing I do encourage, and the only thing I do recommend time and time again, that if an individual is going to a fair or a college or a mall or a park, whatever the situation, wherever the place may be, that he gets the appropriate permit. Please just make sure that you get a permit for whatever place it is. It's not very difficult in applying for and getting these permits, but it's very important that we do things legally and we do things appropriately. Getting involved in local government, again, something that is very important. Developing a relationship with the mayor, developing a relationship with the zoning board, with the board of education. It's very important that they know who you are, or at least they know your face, so that when you do come in, that they know how to deal with you, and that we're not going in to see them every time we need something, but that we do have a cordial relationship with them in case we do need them for something, that we know that they have our back and we know that we will have their support. It's important that we are active in introducing bills, making sure that we are reporting, the different problems that we have. But we're actually taking active participation in whatever it is that's going on, whether it be in terms of education or legislation. But unfortunately, we're not as active as we should be. Getting involved with law enforcement. Law enforcement has different levels. It has the federal level, it has the state level, and it has the local level. Getting involved in all of these, whether it be FBI, Homeland Security. These organizations have the biggest outreach, and they are willing to help us in securing a lot of our religious facilities and our social facilities. Taking advantage of them is we're paying taxes. I think it's very important to take advantage of them. The FBI offers a citizens training academy, something that I think is very important. But again, I will talk more about these in the skill set, inshallah. Dealing with the Attorney General, I think this is something, again, that is very important. He helps develop policies to help keep our communities safe. So we need to make sure that he is doing his job by providing for him information in terms of threats, if anybody has made a threat against the community, if there are any suspicious people who have been around the community. Or even, there are Muslims in jail, and even non-Muslims who might not be treated appropriately. It's very important for us as Muslims to stand up for those individuals' rights. And getting that level of government involved will, at least legally, maybe not practically, maybe, if he can issue orders and he can sign things into law, but if his constituents aren't following it, that's a different arena altogether. But it's very important that we take advantage of both, and that can only happen by developing a relationship with both. Getting involved with the state police, again, something that's very important. Their jurisdiction is usually outside of the local communities, but if there is some type of threat that's involved, or some types of violence or terrorist threat that is involved, they will definitely get involved. And again, it's a resource, and we should learn how to utilize that resource. They have training academies, something imams can definitely get involved in terms of cultural awareness, in terms of religious awareness. I think it's something, very important. Getting involved with the local prosecutors, getting involved with the local police or the sheriff. Again, they're involved in a lot of policies. They're involved in a lot of the practical and ground reality. So I think it's important that we do get involved with those individuals. They actually provide cultural sensitivity training to a lot of the officers that are under them. So it's important that we take advantage of those. And obviously chaplaincy. Chaplaincy is something that Muslims are already actively doing. They're already in the jails, alhamdulillah. Something that I will only continue to encourage. Making sure that the Muslim prisoners are being dealt with appropriately, and the prisoners, obviously in general, answering any letters or any issues that they might have, dealing with specific situations that require fatwa. All of these things are good for them to have and good for them to know. developing a relationship with the public school system, understanding who the superintendent is, knowing who the principals are of the different schools, or maybe not at the teacher level because it's too broad and too vast, but at least the superintendent and the principals, they should have an idea. This helps. Having cultural sensitivity training, I was actually, because I had a relationship with one of the superintendents, he actually allowed me to give it for the entire district. So I think it's something that we can definitely look into, something that can be and should be expanded upon. If we have a relationship with the principals, it is actually in the principals' hands, and they can decide whether the students can have Jumu'ah prayer or not. And this has a big role, especially in the high schools. If the principal allows it, even though state legislature doesn't support it, I want to be very important. I want to stress this point: state legislature would not stand with us, and they would not be with us because we're trying to hold a religious function. But if the individual principal makes an exception for those schools, it's very important for us to take advantage of that. And that can only happen by having a good relationship with the principal, because they're the ones that are going to allow MSAs or Muslim student associations. So it's very important for us to deal with them appropriately and understand from our end that they are actually doing us a favor. We are not, not the other way around. And the last group I would say that we need to have give importance to is child protection services. Many times this is the most feared organization of all these state organizations. But if I have a relationship with them, it's very important to understand. If I have a relationship that I developed with them before, it's much easier for me to step in when there is a crisis or there is an issue. Coming in after the fact, there's much less chance that they'll actually listen to what it is that I have to say. But if I have a relationship beforehand, then I've already developed a relationship where they trust me, and I can actually help, maybe even guide where those children will go if a family does break up for whatever reason, whether wrongfully or in some cases rightly. It's still important that we have a say in what it is and what they do. But these are just some of the civil roles that I did want to talk about today, inshallah, and some of the things that the Imam does. And again, this was the second most important thing for me in terms of the duties of the Imam. And inshallah, next time we will talk a little bit more about that. So I look forward to seeing you then. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqin nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.